From humble beginnings in the early 1900s, the Orange County Library System has recorded an amazing century of growth and development, establishing consistently high standards for public library service and bringing decades of literacy, education, and programming to the Central Florida community. While it's impossible to cover everything in the library's history, this retrospective, narrated by past and present staff members, is an effort to recognize some of the most noteworthy milestones and transformative periods of the first 100 years.
In 1919, the mayor of Orlando secured a site for a public library. The lot at the time, the first tee of a golf course running along the north side of Lake Eola, was at the corner of Central Boulevard and Rosalind Avenue.
Orlando's population was approximately 10,000 in 1922, when the citizens passed a bond issue to pay for the construction of the library building. The 11,000 square foot building cost $110,000 to create.
On November 8, 1923, the doors opened for the first time. Charles Albertson had donated half of the library's 21,000 books, and the library was named the Albertson Public Library in his honor.
In 1924, the Booker T. Washington Library became the first branch. It was housed in what had been the rectory of the St. John's Episcopal Church.
Along the Rosalind side of the building, a garden and special entrance to the children's department were added in 1935.
In 1938, the Colonial Town branch was opened, followed by the opening of the Grand Avenue branch in 1942. Both libraries were housed in the women's clubs.
In 1943, the library's first director, Olive Brumball, retired after 20 years of service. The new director's name was Clara Wendell. Ms. Wendell would oversee the library for the next 27 years.
The Friends of the Library group was founded in 1949. Later that year, the Friends, along with the Cirrhosis Club, were instrumental in establishing the first countywide book mobile service in the state of Florida.
The College Park branch was opened on Smith Street in 1950. In 1954, the Booker T. Washington branch moved to the building built by the city. The branch remains open at the site on West Jackson Street for the next 30 years.
The number of staff members in the Albertson Library reached 40 in 1959, up from the total of 10 just 15 years earlier.
In 1962, approval was given to construct a new main library building, and the city acquired additional land adjacent to the original building. 2 years later, a city ordinance was passed stating that all land owned or acquired by the city within a block of Central, Rosalind, Wall, and Magnolia be used for library purposes only. John M. Johansson, an architect from Connecticut, is selected to design the new library building in 1963. Also that year, Orange County voted to be taxed for free library service for county residents outside of Orlando, Maitland, and Winter Park.
In 1964, 41 years after opening, the Albertson Library closed. The library moved to temporary quarters at 905 North Orange, opening to the public after transporting 100,000 books and several tons of equipment out of the soon-to-be-demolished old building. Later that year, the groundbreaking for the new building took place.
By early 1965, the Pine Hills, North Orange, West Orange, Fort Gatlin, and Azalea Park branch were up and running. That same year, the City Council approved the name of the new library building to be Orlando Public Library.
The dedication of the Orlando Public Library took place in 1966. John Johansson called his building design a composition in monolithic concrete. Meanwhile, the library system topped 1 million in annual circulation for the first time.
In late 1966, the main library building became departmentalized. Areas included general information and reference, fine arts, business, science and technology, local history and genealogy, and young adults.
Clara Wendell retired in 1970, having overseen enormous growth and the opening of the new building. Glenn Miller then began what would be a 25-year career as director.
Miller would ultimately oversee successful efforts to establish the library's special taxing district and the expansion of the main library, as well as initiating the popular Books by Mail program. When he retired in 1995, the Orange County Library System had expanded to include 11 branches across the county.
In late 1973, the Books by Mail program was initiated. In 1974, 9,000 requested items were sent to patrons. The popularity of this program will increase so much over the next 30 years that by 2003, 9,000 items were being sent out each week.
Plans to expand the main building started as early as 1974 with the unveiling of plans for Library Square. The idea was never realized, but expansion of the Orlando Public Library will become a reality in little more than a decade.
In the mid-1970s, the Children's Department produced 2 films, Sharing Literature with Children in 1974 and What's So Great About Books in 1976. The latter film earned praise from the executive director of the Children's Book Council, John Donovan.
An ending and a beginning took place in 1979. The bookmobile was parked for the last time after 30 years of service, and later that year, the Orange County Commission approves an act to establish a special taxing district for library operations and expansion. In 1980, voters approved a bond issue for the creation of the library district, paving the way for expansion and operational funding for years to come.
In 1981, Miss Bennett sold her Wall Street home and property to the library. Switzer Associates are awarded the design contract for the expansion of the main library. Groundbreaking begins.
The expanded Orlando Public Library opens in 1986. The 290,000 square foot facility takes up the entire city block and features 5 floors of public departments. Local architect firm Schweitzer Associates designed the expansion overseen by Glenn Miller, seamlessly blending the original building with the new portion. When it opens, the facility is the largest public library building in Florida. Included in the newly expanded Orlando Public Library is a used bookstore overseen by the Friends of the Library. The Friends organization was formed in 1949 to increase awareness and use of the library. Throughout their history, the Friends work to encourage donations, endowments, and bequests for the benefit of the library, sponsor countless programs and activities, and provide scholarship opportunities for qualifying employees to further their information and library science education.
The opening of the Washington Park branch combined the collection of Washington Shores branch and the Booker T. Washington branch in 1984. The Booker T. Washington branch thus concluded a 60-year run.
In 1995, Dorothy Field becomes the 4th director of the Orange County Library System. Under her leadership, the library brings public internet access computers to all locations and introduces a new children's department on the 1st floor of the main library, adorned with large art installations inspired by children's literature. The library also initiates a web presence and constructs 3 prototype branches during Field's tenure. In 2002, Marianne Hodel becomes the director and CEO of the Orange County Library System. She introduces new branding and marketing efforts, including the introduction of the Books and Beyond monthly magazine. Hodel oversees floor-by-floor interior renovations of the main library, the initiation of technology training for customers, the development of numerous online services, the expansion of branches, and the emergence of the Melrose Center. When she retires in 2022, OCLS is a multi-award-winning library system. In 2003, Library Central opens on the 1st floor of the main library and includes a performance stage and dedicated teen area. Other floors of the main library are renovated in years to come, including the Friends of the Library bookstore on the 3rd floor. In 2004, the library begins to focus on technology training for patrons system-wide. By the end of the decade, classrooms have been constructed on the 2nd floor of the main library and in branches across the county, where technology trainers offer hundreds of classes each month. Customers are able to place requests for home delivery via the library website, which also offers access to a multitude of databases, ebooks, and music. In addition to a continued focus on children's programming, the library begins to bring a variety of adult events and programs to locations, ranging from concerts, author appearances, cooking demonstrations, and cultural celebrations. In 2014, the Dorothy Lumley Melrose Center for Technology, Innovation, and Creativity opened for the first time thanks to a generous donation from the Kendrick B. Melrose Family Foundation. The center, a 26,000 square foot facility located on the second floor of the main library, was named after Ken's mother, Dorothy, who was an educator and library supporter with a keen interest in technology during her lifetime. The Melrose Center features audio, photo, and video studios, a makerspace, sound booths, simulators, and computers loaded with creative software. In addition to teaching patrons skills to utilize the center, Melrose staff also create the Melrose Film Festival, which draws filmmakers from around the world, and produce Melrose in the Mix, a live recording session series that becomes a television show on PBS.
Also in 2014, the library is awarded the first of 7 consecutive Mayor's Matching grants to teach tweens and teens to sew through the It's So Easy camps. Not long after, the Technology and Education Center begins the development of adult sewing classes for the system, and a dedicated sewing studio is created on the second floor of the main library. At about the same time, the South Trail branch receives a generous donation of 12 refurbished sewing machines from the Sewing Machine Project. The Sewing Machine Project subsequently contacts the Singer Company on the library's behalf, and Singer donates 15 new Singer machines, making the creation of regular classes possible at the branch. Knitting and crocheting classes are eventually developed by TEC for the system. In the ensuing years, 8 locations offer sewing and fiber arts classes, aided by donations of sewing machines provided by the Friends of the Library. Loyal communities of sewing enthusiasts grow across the county. In 2022, sewing and fiber arts classes system-wide see more than 7,300 attendees. In 2015, OCLS partners with Orange County Public Schools to initiate Summer Break Spot at the Hiawassee and South Trail branches. The program is sponsored by the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services and offers children 18 and under free meals during the summer. In 2016, the program grew to include the Chickasaw and Edgewater branches. By 2020, 6 branches are hosting summer break spots. Over its first 8 years, more than 165,000 meals are served as part of Summer Break Spot, which was awarded the Innovation in Operation Award from the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services.
In 2015, for English classes, an ESOL specialist is hired to develop and teach classes at the Southeast branch. Several more ESOL instructors are hired over the ensuing years to offer classes across the system. Online ESOL classes are introduced during the pandemic and still continue to be scheduled along with in-person classes. By January 2023, ESOL classes system-wide are drawing 2,000 attendees monthly. The Events and Programs Department continues to facilitate system-wide events in person and online throughout the library's 10th decade, bringing scores of attendees into locations or to their computer screens to enjoy entertaining and informative programming. Events held each February as part of the National African American Read-In draw hundreds of attendees. The annual Orlando Book Festival also proves popular. In 2023, more than 700 attend the festival, which is headlined by author R.L. Stine. The Marketing and Public Relations Department initiates the Local Wanderer program in 2019, allowing patrons to check out tickets to cultural events and experiences, just like they check out a book. NPR also establishes a style brand book for staff to bring consistency to system-wide marketing efforts. Throughout NPR's efforts, connections with numerous media outlets are fostered, including a series of features about OCLS services that airs on local CBS affiliate WKMG. The main library's circulation department begins processing passports for patrons in October 2019. By 2023, nearly 700 passports have been processed.
In 2018, OCLS is recognized by the Institute of Museums and Library Services with the nation's highest honor, the National Medal for Museum and Library Service. In 2021, OCLS is named for the Florida Libraries Association's Library of the Year for the second time in just over a decade.
When the Chickasaw branch opens in 2015, it becomes the 15th branch in the system, marking the latest in a long line of evolutions to the vital branch network. Over the years and decades, the East Orange branch becomes Alafaya, South Orange becomes South Creek, West Orange becomes Winter Garden, Edgewater becomes Fairview Shores, Pine Hills becomes West Colonial, becomes Hiawassee. The West Oaks, Herndon, and Eatonville branches open. Southeast and South Trail relocate. Washington Park, Southwest, North Orange, and Windermere are refreshed and remain important resource and programming destinations in their communities, as does each branch in the system. As the Herndon branch closes in 2020, bringing the number of branches down to 14, branch expansion plans are being developed for 2 new communities in Orange County. The COVID-19 pandemic impacts everyone, but OCLS strives to continue providing services for the community. After a brief closure, the main library and branches navigate difficult circumstances and stages, allowing limited access to facilities through 2020 and most of 2021. Online classes and events grow exponentially and become a fixture, even as in-person programming returns. The always popular books by mail service sees a significant rise in requests and deliveries, averaging 60,000 items per month. From June through October 2020, the Melrose Center Fab Lab team uses the 3D printers and laser cutter to create medical face shields, donating more than 1,300 to local medical professionals. The TEC creates and donates sewn face masks and knitted ear savers, and also teaches classes on how to sew cloth face coverings.
The Right Service, Right Time website is originally designed as a portal for use by OCLS librarians to find social and government assistive services for patrons. The resource is redesigned as an e-government website for the entire state of Florida. OCLS staff then train librarians in 6 counties on how to use the Right Service, Right Time website, which becomes the recipient of the Urban Library Council Innovation Award in 2011. Another grant in 2017 helps OCLS start a pilot program to have a social worker on site to assist patrons. In 2019, the library officially creates the first social worker position, with 3 social workers on staff by 2023. In 2022, social workers conduct more than 2,500 sessions for patrons.
In 2022, Steve Powell becomes the library's 6th director. The library approves a motion to do away with overdue fines, resulting in restored access for more than 32,000 cardholders. The library also makes Wi-Fi hotspots available for checkout to qualified customers and initiates plans for 2 new branches to open in 2025 and 2026 in Horizon West and Lake Nona. OCLS celebrates its first century throughout 2023, with programs marking a specific decade each month and a special signature event featuring authors Neil Gaiman and Art Spiegelman in November, held at the Dr. Phillips Center for Performing Arts. The Orange County Library System's first 100 years have encompassed so many milestones and examples of exemplary library service. We can only imagine what the next 100 years will bring.